Based on a true story in 1949, a former boxer named Michael Cohen was determined to take control of every illegal business in Los Angeles, from drugs to prostitution. Even though he was only a former boxer, his brutality surpassed that of ordinary gangsters. He had no hesitation in eliminating anyone who dared to operate in his territory. One morning, Cohen's men went to the train station to look for young women from the countryside who had just arrived in the city. Promising them a chance to become actresses, they brought them to a building where they were forced to serve men. Secretly, a young detective named O'Mara had been watching them from the very beginning. The problem was that almost every police officer in the city had already been bribed by Cohen, including O'Mara's own colleagues. Since no one dared to take action, O'Mara decided to act alone. He infiltrated the building disguised as a customer, but his cover was quickly blown. Even after losing his gun during the fight, O'Mara kept fighting and tried to save the girl from the criminals.
Welcome to Los Angeles, ma'am.
After successfully arresting them, O'Mara brought the suspects to the police station. But instead of receiving support, he was scolded by his superior for raiding Cohen's territory without a warrant.
Two things you can't take back on this job, kid.
Even before the criminals arrived at the station, their release papers had already been prepared. It proved that Cohen's influence controlled not only the police, but also the judges and prosecutors. O'Mara could only watch in disappointment as the criminals were set free. His friend Jerry tried to warn him to stop fighting Cohen because it was pointless.
Okay, stay out of trouble.
At home, his wife said the same thing. Although she was proud of O'Mara's courage and honesty, she feared that he was risking his life in a city already consumed by crime.
I don't mind living like Mom and Pa Kettle, but I don't need a hero, Sarge. I need a husband.
Cohen was shocked to learn that there was a police officer bold enough to disrupt his territory. Besides saving the girl, O'Mara had also freed all the women being held inside the building, completely crippling one of Cohen's prostitution operations. Furious over the failure, Cohen punished his men by burning them alive along with the building. Meanwhile, O'Mara's friend Jerry is introduced more closely. He is known as a playboy because he spends much of his time in nightclubs, but in reality, he is gathering information. Thanks to his charm and social skills, Jerry has become close friends with Jack, one of Cohen's trusted men, so he often receives inside information about the mafia's business network.
First of all, Jack, you're not allowed to tell me that. I'm listening.
Cohen's on the warpath.
Warpath.
That night, however, Jerry's attention turned to Cohen's girlfriend. Boldly, he flirted with her right inside the enemy's headquarters, and as usual, his charm quickly made her interested in spending the night with him.
I bet. What kind of games?
I was just hoping to take you to bed.
The next day, news of Cohen's brothel being exposed filled the media. The head of the LAPD, Chief Parker, was both shocked and pleased that there was finally a police officer brave enough to stand up to Cohen. He had wanted to act for a long time, but it had been difficult because nearly every officer in the department had already been bribed. Once O'Mara was proven to be clean, he was appointed to lead a special unit to bring Cohen down. But the mission would not be easy. Chief Parker forbade O'Mara from killing Cohen, because if he died, someone else would simply take his place. Before Cohen could be put in prison, O'Mara was ordered to destroy his entire illegal network first.
I need you to do it again. Destroy his establishments.
Yes, sir.
When O'Mara returned home, Coney once again reminded him that they had moved to Los Angeles to live a peaceful life. Now the situation had become even more complicated because Coney was pregnant. If O'Mara were killed, his family would lose everything.
We moved out here. You said we found paradise, remember? Stop fighting. Come back to me.
Even so, Coney eventually chose to help her husband. Using her intelligence, she helped O'Mara determine which police officers were still honest and which had already been bribed.
If I'm Cohen, these are the cops I'm gonna buy.
Of all the names, the first person she suggested recruiting was Jerry. Unfortunately, when O'Mara met him, Jerry had already lost hope. In his view, there was no future left because the judges, prosecutors, and police were all under Cohen's control.
You're not gonna change anything around here, Sarge. But the war's over.
And we don't have to fight anymore.
The second candidate O'Mara recruited was Harris, a tough cop famous for fighting drug trafficking. He hated drugs because they had once taken the life of his nephew, so he agreed without hesitation to help bring Cohen down.
I lost my niece too.
Plug it up right at the source.
The next member was
story
Max,
in
an old
1949.
police officer who turned out to be a former sharpshooter. According to the records, he was the deadliest policeman in the city's history. When he was offered a place on the team, Max immediately accepted.
I'm going after Mickey Cohen.
I just happen to have one.
The final member was Conwell. He was not as skilled in combat as the others, but he was an expert in wiretapping and surveillance. His abilities were considered essential for uncovering Cohen's criminal network. At first, O'Mara hesitated to recruit him because Conwell already had a family, but Conwell insisted that it was precisely for the sake of his family and his child's future that he wanted to help rid the city of corruption.
This is what we fought for, isn't it? Well, Mickey Cohen took it from us.
Meanwhile, Cohen met with a powerful crime boss named Dragna, a man far more senior in the criminal world. Until now, the two had maintained a good relationship, but Dragna had become angry because Cohen had killed members of a dangerous Chicago gang. His actions could spark a major mafia war, but that was exactly what Cohen wanted. He was not satisfied with controlling only Los Angeles and planned to expand his power into other cities across America.
You dumb cock. I heard you, Jack. You're a funny guy. This is the wild fucking West because this is my destiny.
Before they began, O'Mara warned his team that the operation had to remain completely secret. During the mission, no one was allowed to carry a badge so their identities would not be exposed. In the middle of the meeting, Navidad, one of Max's men, suddenly appeared. He had secretly overheard O'Mara's earlier conversation. Since their secret was already out, O'Mara finally allowed him to join the team.
Yeah, I know your plan. I want in.
Tonight, we're gonna hit his casino across the river in Burbank.
That very night, they prepared to launch their first operation by destroying one of Cohen's casinos. The place O'Mara and his team attacked was one of the main sources of Cohen's money. Wearing cowboy-style masks to hide their faces, they entered the casino to tear it apart. But the operation went wrong when several police officers who happened to be gambling there saw them. O'Mara could not bring himself to shoot fellow officers, so the team was forced to flee.
It's not starting, you gotta push it!
O'Mara and Harris were eventually arrested by the Burbank police. Luckily, they were not carrying badges, so the corrupt officers did not recognize who they were. However, because they were believed to have interfered with Cohen's territory, the two men were detained and prepared to be handed over to the gangster.
You must be out here from Chicago. I'm asking you a whole lot nicer than Cohen's gonna.
Meanwhile, Jerry was at a nightclub and stopped to visit Pitt, a shoe shiner he treated like a younger brother. Not long afterward, several of Cohen's armed men arrived to kill Dragna, who had just shown up there. Jerry tried to tell Pitt to leave, but it was already too late. Pitt was killed on the spot when Cohen's men opened fire across the entire room in an attempt to murder Dragna, even though their target ultimately managed to escape. Pitt's death left Jerry furious and desperate for revenge. Jerry even considered killing Cohen, who was dancing inside the building, but Jack stopped him and pulled him away. From Jack, Jerry learned that Cohen had ordered the attack on Dragna because he believed the men who destroyed his casino worked for Dragna. In reality, it had been O'Mara and his team all along.
God damn it, Omar, you stupid son of a bitch.
At that moment, O'Mara and Harris were still being held in custody. As soon as Jerry learned they had been arrested, he went to the police station and pretended to be one of Cohen's men sent to execute them. The corrupt officers immediately believed him and led him to the holding cells. But moments later, Cohen's real men arrived, exposing Jerry's disguise.
Shit.
Fortunately, O'Mara and Harris had already managed to free themselves and helped Jerry fight them off. Meanwhile, Cohen grew even more ambitious about controlling the criminal underworld. He wanted Los Angeles to surpass Chicago in illegal profits. To make that happen, he planned a new business venture and, to eliminate any obstacles, sent his best hitman to kill Dragna, whom he still suspected of being behind the attack on his casino. According to Conwell, their previous operation had been far too reckless and had even led to Dragna's death. If they continued like that, even more people would be killed. Because of that, he suggested wiretapping Cohen's house so they could work more effectively. The team immediately agreed. That night, they infiltrated Cohen's heavily guarded mansion. They quickly managed to get into his bedroom and place a listening device behind the television. Thanks to the wiretap, they obtained a great deal of crucial information, from the locations of Cohen's main businesses to the schedule of a drug shipment that was set to arrive that very night.
Look, Cohen's got some medicine coming. Where's he bringing it in? Burbank Airport Friday night.
They also discovered that the drugs had been flown in from outside the city and then escorted into town by corrupt police officers. Jerry suggested that they wait and strike after the convoy got closer to the city, but O'Mara was too impatient and decided to attack early. As a result, their presence was quickly discovered. The enemy greatly outnumbered them and seemed well prepared for that kind of assault.
Oh my God! Everybody get down! Take him out!
After defeating the guards, they managed to send the truck full of drugs crashing into a ravine. To make sure Cohen's men would never use that route again, they permanently injured the couriers.
You're retired. Let's get out of here.
When news of this reached Cohen, he was furious. But he still did not know who was responsible and believed it had all been done by Dragna's former men.
These things happen.
To celebrate the success, O'Mara and his team held a small party at his house. Not long afterward, Chief Parker arrived to congratulate them, but he also warned that Cohen had ordered all of his men to find out who they were. Before their disguises were exposed, Parker urged them to destroy as much of Cohen's empire as possible.
Cohen has already organized a dragnet. We need to offer Cohen no quarter.
Over the next several days, O'Mara and his team continued attacking Cohen's operations, from casinos to brothels. Not one of Cohen's men was able to stop them. Watching his businesses fall one by one, Cohen grew even angrier and swore that if he ever found the people responsible, he would kill them and their families. Then Conwell uncovered important information about Cohen's new project called El Dorado, a national gambling network aimed at high-class clients. This business was far more profitable than drugs and was set to begin operations the following week. Unfortunately, they still did not know its exact location. At first, O'Mara wanted to use Jerry's secret connection with Cohen's girlfriend to gather information. However, the idea was rejected because it was too dangerous and could destroy their friendship. Fortunately, Conwell found another way. He tracked the city's strongest communication signals to locate Cohen's central operations. After narrowing it down, they discovered that El Dorado's headquarters was hidden behind a nightclub, a place Jerry often visited. To enter without raising suspicion, they decided to disguise themselves as a band.
Who are you guys?
For the band.
Indeed, behind the nightclub stage, there was a hidden room filled with employees handling bets from wealthy businessmen. They processed wagers on boxing, football, and various other events, with massive piles of cash everywhere. O'Mara then set fire to the entire place.
That's all you've got.
Cohen became even more furious as his biggest business was destroyed, while the corrupt police he had bribed were still unable to identify the attackers.
You will find him!
The next day, Cohen's men reported that the attackers had not stolen any money from the site. From this, Cohen immediately realized that the perpetrators must have been police officers.
Somebody peached them.
He's in this fucking house! Find them!
He then concluded that his house had been wiretapped, and it did not take long for him to discover the listening device planted by O'Mara and his team. Meanwhile, O'Mara, still unaware that his secret had been exposed, was excited when he heard that Cohen would be sending another large drug shipment that night. However, Conwell felt something was wrong because the transaction was set to take place in a crowded area. If they attacked, many civilians could be caught in the crossfire.
This is the only way we can beat him.
At the same time, Cohen also began to suspect that his girlfriend Grace had betrayed him. That night, Grace met with Jerry, but their conversation was suddenly interrupted by two of Cohen's men who attempted to throw acid in her face. Fortunately, Jerry managed to save her.
Is that acid? Huh? No! No! No!
For Grace's safety, Jerry asked Jack to take her out of the city. Even though Jack was one of Cohen's trusted men, Jerry believed their friendship was stronger than loyalty to Cohen. While Jerry dealt with Grace's escape, O'Mara had to carry out the night operation without him. Acting too quickly as usual, O'Mara did not realize he was walking into a trap. The truck he believed was carrying drugs was actually filled with explosives, and Cohen's men had intentionally lured him in from the start. Fortunately, Jerry arrived just in time to warn him. Soon after, Cohen's men opened fire on them from an unexpected direction, and Harris wounded in the arm. Even so, O'Mara and his team eventually managed to turn the situation around. But without their knowledge, Cohen was also tracing the source of the wiretap signal from his house. At the hideout, Conwell was alone and did not have time to react when an assassin attacked him from behind.
This is business.
That night, the bloodshed continued. Cohen managed to locate Grace's hiding place. To give her a chance to escape, Jack sacrificed himself.
Come on, Ricky.
Worse still, O'Mara's identity was finally exposed. Cohen immediately sent his men to spray bullets at O'Mara's house. Coney and her unborn child were now in grave danger. But at that moment, O'Mara was still overwhelmed with grief over Conwell's death. Blinded by rage, he went straight to Cohen's house to confront him. Jerry tried to stop him, but O'Mara struck him instead. Unfortunately, when he arrived, Cohen had already relocated his headquarters.
This is where I get off.
When O'Mara returned home, he was horrified to see bullet holes covering the walls and blood on the floor. He initially thought Coney had been killed, but it turned out the blood was from childbirth. Meanwhile, because nearly all city officials had been bribed, Cohen succeeded in removing Chief Parker from his position as head of the LAPD. With no protection left, O'Mara was dismissed from the police force. O'Mara accepted his fate as long as his friends remained safe. After that, he went to Conwell's home to pay his respects. His heart broke when he saw Conwell's son now had to grow up without a father because of Cohen. Coney, no longer able to endure the chaos, asked O'Mara to leave the city. But O'Mara refused until his fallen comrades were avenged. This difference of opinion further strained their relationship. Meanwhile, Jerry grew worried as O'Mara's family had also become a target. When he came to offer support, Grace suddenly appeared and told him about Jack's death. According to her, this time they finally had a chance to bring Cohen down. Until now, Cohen had always ordered others to do the killing, so there had never been any solid evidence to take him to court. But Jack's death was different, because Grace had personally seen Cohen pull the trigger himself. That same night, O'Mara and Jerry went to the courthouse and forced a judge to sign Cohen's arrest warrant. They threatened to expose the judge's corruption if he refused. Since O'Mara's dismissal would only take effect the following morning, he was still officially a police officer that night. Before turning in his badge, he gathered his remaining allies to arrest Cohen once and for all.
I think I'll tag along if you don't mind, Sarge. Let's finish it.
Cohen was hiding in a heavily guarded luxury hotel, fully expecting O'Mara to come before his dismissal. Even though they were outnumbered, O'Mara and his team showed no fear. Navidad, Harris, and Max managed to distract the guards outside, allowing O'Mara and Jerry to infiltrate the hotel lobby. However, to reach Cohen's room, they had to pass through elevators protected by numerous mafia men. In the firefight that followed, Jerry ran out of bullets and was seriously wounded while trying to retrieve backup ammunition. Because of his injury, Jerry could not continue to the upper floors. At the same time, Cohen decided to escape the hotel. Using a smoke bomb, he slipped past O'Mara and ran toward the parking area. Max, who was guarding the exit, was caught off guard when Cohen suddenly appeared and was immediately ambushed. Harris and Navidad tried to stop Cohen's car, but failed. Seeing this, O'Mara jumped onto the back of the moving vehicle. Cohen fired at him, but in panic he accidentally shot his own driver, causing the car to crash. O'Mara was severely injured in the crash. One of Cohen's men tried to take advantage of the situation to finish him off, but Max, despite being wounded, still managed to shoot the attacker from a distance.
What it's gonna be? That's my boy.
With no way left to escape, Cohen finally surrendered. However, he was still smiling, confident that corrupt officials would once again set him free. Realizing this, O'Mara briefly beat him. Unfortunately, he forgot that Cohen had once been a boxer. Even so, O'Mara kept fighting. The aging Cohen eventually began to tire, and O'Mara managed to overpower him in front of civilians and media who witnessed the scene. Everyone was shocked to see the most feared mafia boss in Los Angeles being humiliated by a young detective. Cohen's arrest immediately became major news. Public pressure made sure no corrupt officials dared to help him during the trial. Interestingly, the public still believed Cohen had been taken down by a rival gang, never knowing that it was actually the work of O'Mara's secret unit all along. Because the team had been operating in secret and completely outside official procedures from the very beginning, they never received any awards or promotions. However, O'Mara did not care. For him, what mattered most was that Los Angeles was finally safe again. After everything was over, he chose to step down from the police force, honoring the promise he had once made to his wife.